Hello and welcome. This is the oracle reading for the Scorpio full moon that happened on the 23rd or the 24th of April, depending on where you live on this planet. So I always do these oracle readings following doing the full transit series. So there's a collective reading out there where I break down the astrology in more detail, lots of channeled messages, a collective tarot reading, and that's the baseline for the all 12 signs series where I read for all of the 12 signs in relation to what is this moon doing. I work with 6-month cycles, so I see lunations as portals for download codes, activation codes, both new and full moon alike. And so this is an energy download that comes with this full moon that then unfolds over the next 6 months. So go check those out. Even though it's after the event, you're not missing out on any of the messages. And I pull these oracle cards before I start any transit. And it kind of blew my mind when I saw what was coming out. And it was so in alignment with the meditations that the way that I tapped into the Scorpio full moon energy and like seeing it this does always happen with the oracle cards. It really is quite a phenomenon, and it warms my soul of the interaction that we have with the universe and how it really does show up in our lives. And so we've got lots of oracle cards here that I'm going to be reading through. I'm going to summarize the energy of that full moon as well with these oracle cards. And as I was sitting down to start this reading, I cut the deck a couple of times from the tarot, and the tarot wanted to come out and say hello. And we got the Queen of Cups, the High Priestess, and the Six of Wands. And what's really felt, and it shows up in the oracle reading as well, is that this Scorpio full moon is a two-pronged effect of it's fixed water. So it's our fixed emotional body. And I was using the example of a lake or just a fixed body of water that for whatever reason, the ecosystem is just sort of broken down a little bit and it's no longer composting. You haven't got that flow of energy. The oxygen is being drained from the water. Life is getting stagnant. It starts to smell. It starts to rot. The slime comes in. And this was a real visceral image that was coming up in terms of this full moon is bringing that all to the surface in order for it to be released. And this is off the back of the total solar eclipse in Aries, as well as the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that happened the weekend before the full moon, all in alignment with what's being released here. That's then allowing that energy to be cleansed and transformed back into our creation energy. Scorpio rules the sexual organs. That isn't just about copulation. It is about our pure creation energy within ourselves. Italia, dui shalimota. Hello and welcome. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and as you just heard, I channel multidimensional energies through my body, both in the forms of vocal and physical light language. So that just wanted to come through, just say, these energies are helping us heal, attune, and bring in activation codes. I often in these oracle readings let the light language come through a little more than I do in the other readings. So we'll see how it goes and who wants to come through. So like shifting that energy of that fixed intuitive body, right? And allowing us to be very in alignment with the root of our emotional energy, and allow that to then draw us out into the world from a place of inner strength. You know, a yin energy is Scorpio. Scorpio is water, it's yin in nature. Traditionally, it's ruled by Mars, and that's what I see show up in the astrology, in timing techniques. I get why Pluto's involved with Scorpio. I have Pluto and Scorpio myself, but I've not seen that show up in the same way that Mars does. And Mars is the god of war, but also the master builder and the farmer. And in a yin sign is very protective. It's very sort of in its own power. It's feeling very strong. It's not going out and starting fights, but it's ready to get to cultivate this sense of manifestation within us. And Scorpio is in the darkness, right? It is the death card. The honoring of going into the dark, into that composting energy, and knowing that light and life comes from that yin energy. But it can get stuck in the darkness, right? It can then fall into, that very sort of defense mode of Mars ruling Scorpio, of seeing the fight everywhere, that sort of paranoid energy, and really fixating on that and forgetting the other side of the coin, forgetting the light. And so we can get lost in there. And it really felt like those sort of fixed stagnant energies were going to be released with this full moon, which is then allowing us to step into our creation energy, step into our power, and really harness the intuition within ourselves. And that was doubly confirmed by the fact that we got the Queen of Cups come out of really nourishing our intuition and our intuitive body. She is so serene. She is turning into the ocean. Her foot is going blue. Italia, she can see far and wide, and she isn't in fear. And it's wanting to go over the beginning part of the oracle cards, which I feel is a lot of what we've been working through. And then we've got the High Priestess coming through of this activation. This is the Moon's card. This is about having a deep knowing within ourselves that we are drawing towards us situations that serve our abundance and fertility. So rather than drawing towards us twisted, distorted energy that brings about conflict, brings about fear, we are releasing that. And one of the other this deck like fell over while I was sorting out the lights, and it says relationship change. So we're making a change with of what I've just talked about, and bringing in this sense of this calm within us. Think of the stillness of a lake, right? That inner calm, that inner peace, the stuff going on the surface, but we remain calm in the darkness. We stand firm and strong and true, knowing that we embody both that and the light. One of the key meditations that came through was building on that Aries eclipse of the I am, of honoring the I am, being more instinctively in alignment with our own source energy, having more faith and knowing in how things are unfolding without necessarily knowing how or why. Honoring the I am of ourselves and those around us, freeing the clutter of expectations, assumptions, judgment, criticism, all of that. And because of that big activation, and because of the activation with Jupiter and Uranus, that happens once every 13 to 14 years. It's in the sign of Taurus, which is where the sun is for this full moon. So all very much in alignment. That's the biggest conjunction all year. So I do recommend checking out that transit series. And essentially that Uranus is elevating our soul's path and clearing that path, liberating it. And Jupiter is bringing about a new cycle of opportunities and abundance in relationship to that. But because of these two massive portals, probably the biggest portals of activation codes that are coming all year, that this can often bring up the polarizing nature of what the activations are bringing in, and then we see the opposite of it. So you may have felt very empowered, very embodied, and then there may have been moments where worst case scenario, where you're falling into the pit. And one of the key meditations that came through was because of the power of Scorpio, of being able to stand in that energy and be empowered rather than distorted. This full moon is bringing in an activation, one, of clearing the sort of the stagnant energy, two, transforming that into creation energy, and three, being at peace with the multiverse that's in your head, right? That there are many narratives. You are a multifaceted being, that you have the capacity to hold that stillness of that, like that inner peace, and allow those narratives just to exist, to live their own lives, to have their own journey without it being so entangled to your true nature, right? Without it then distorting your inherent energy. That we aren't bothered by them in the same way, because so often we have all of this, even if we are elevating and even if we're integrated, there's still all that stuff going on. And the High Priestess, she knows she's drawing those things towards us that bring in elevation and abundance. And then we got the Six of Wands, and this is sense of going through that journey, through the underworld. We've come out to the other side and feeling victorious. There's an element of celebration here, of recognition. Perhaps the internal recognition of the journey that you've been on, and you know how good you feel right now because you have gone through all those hurdles, you've gone through all those difficulties, and you've come out the other side and you're feeling very impassioned and very confident and of the journey that you're now headed onto. Right, let's get on with reading these oracle cards. I'm so excited. Excuse me, just to move the deck. The Empress at the bottom of the deck. Hello, Venus. Venus is in Aries and she's very strong right now. I've really been enjoying Venus in Aries. Obviously, Aries is ruled by Mars. So Mars is influencing not only this moon, but also Venus, and bringing that energy together of helping us feel good in the 3D world, within the shades of the dark and the light and the grey. She's conjunct Chiron. It's such an embodiment of wisdom that's coming through with that. Okay, so we've got some quite heavy energies show up, and I wasn't surprised. Even though overall with this full moon, I usually in all the readings go on about how full moons can bring up triggers. And I just wasn't called to do so, because it feels like we've been establishing tools that really serve us to navigate those. However, right, so the death card showed up for most of the readings, which isn't that surprising. And this card, this is from the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle by Krans. All the decks are in the description box if any of them take your fancy. I love this deck so much. And this is Thanatos, right? And this is, she's named this the death card, Itianamoi which is hilarious. You gotta laugh. And most of the cards from the Krans deck are all right at the back of the book, and she calls these cards the initiation cards, right, of the underworld, right? The underworld being Scorpio, right? It is an intense energy. It is a very powerful energy here that we have with us. Thanatos. Death. It is tempting to oversimplify death and sum it up as transformation, but the true archetypal resonance of Thanatos cannot be easily assimilated or contained. Death is ongoing and omnipresent, and an eternal response to the gift of birth. This is reminding me, so I was one of my favorite things to do on my downtime, like if my brain is like pretty gone, I like watching comedian podcasts, and I was watching one. It was Ari Shafir, and Duncan Trussell was on it, and he was talking about India and Varanasi, and how the connection to death is very, very different in India, because there's this element of reincarnation, of knowing that things are constantly in a state of fluctuation. And obviously there's the cremation, and in Varanasi it is a very, very sacred spot linked to Shiva, who is the destroyer, right? And the sense of they honor that energy because it brings about new life. Dishana. Ufiala mautu fiala. Ishali mautu. So this full moon was about Beltane, Itala, which I talk about in the collective reading, which is a cross-quarter fire festival, and it's very much about fertility. It is, especially in the northern hemisphere, spring is springing, it's honouring, and we've gone through the winter period, and through that composting, the life that's been put back into the earth in the winter period is now coming back out again. Ishalia tu shela ma doela di shania diana etini mo tu fini. Witnessing the end of another being, creature, phase, or stage has deep consequences for the psyche. We are forever changed by Thanatos, as it sweeps us under its wings, making us relinquish control in every form. It leaves a mark of ash upon our heart, signifying we have touched the cusp of the underworld and will return to the land of the living eventually, with more compassion and wisdom to share. This capacity is needed in our world. One who has faced the annihilation of Thanatos can face anything. When this card appears, it signifies the initiation into the underworld. Di Shania, when light, grieving, mourning, bearing witness to all that is. Italia di shele modu shele ela di. And it says here, facing Thanatos, death, leads us to Althea, truth, which is the end card. Isha tu Italia, tu fatenima o tu fatina patina tu echeniala tu eni. Ishalimo tu yalamo tu fatinama italamo o shenia. So we've gone through a cycle. So I feel like this is what the lead up to this full moon. And I've really noticed in the collective and in all the readings that more and more and more, we are finding the space and the ability to navigate those internal spaces that may feel difficult, and having the tools and the resources in order to integrate and unravel and clear that stuck energy that's bringing in a deeper sense of calm and peace through that transformative energy, through that honoring of the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Funnily enough, this moon and the sun are both square Pluto. It's the major aspect of this moon over in the sign of Aquarius. That through that we have gone through this inherent constant transformative realization of not being in fear of the shifting and the changing and the recalibration back to self, even if there have been difficult situations that have shown up. And really just overall, I just feel that there's this capacity within the collective of being able to stand in your own power and navigate that energy. And then we had the sustainer and the shadow, along with the healing lagoon. Rejuvenate, recovery, time to heal. It's safe to stop. Okay, I'm going to go for that one first. Yeah, and think of a lagoon that's a fixed body of water. And that's the power of Scorpio, that in that stillness, in that darkness, we do the deepest of healings. Here they put it over the heart area. This is Rebecca Campbell's deck, The Healing Waters. I've been using it recently because Mars is in Pisces. And Mars is ruling Scorpio. So we've got this double water energy come in. We've got this very gorgeous Mars in Pisces, very intuitive, very connected to the synchronicities, to the unconditional love of source. For all rivers lead to the same ocean, and move away from the sense of judgment, the sense of this heaviness that we can have when we feel limited. The healing waters are here to hold you. They're putting it over the heart area to heal you, to revive you. It's not only safe for you to slow down, sometimes it's necessary to take care of your physical, emotional, and mental well-being, to replenish yourself with whatever it is that you're yearning for most, to slow down and rest. The healing lagoon is a place of nourishment, recovery, and rest. The waters are urging you to slow down to a sustainable pace, and wherever possible, to give these things to yourself preemptively, not only when you burn out. This is a card of self-care, pleasure, and tender nourishment. How can you ease into resting, replenishing, regenerating, receiving? The healing waters of the healing lagoon are waiting to receive you, to replenish you, to hold you, to regenerate you. They're waiting to attune you back to your most natural and alive state. So book that vacation or the morning off. Reduce your working hours so that when you show up, you can show up fully. The patriarchal expectation of grow, 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 push, push, push isn't sustainable. Your body is your most precious asset, so take care of it and regularly take time to regenerate and rest. So this feels for me about emotional well-being and emotional tending to that lagoon and shift the energy of that stagnant energy into the healing process. And as I said at the beginning, like, I haven't really felt the need to talk about triggers with this full moon, that it feels very a level of nourishment because of the yin energy, but also an activation through the yin, right? With this yin of like getting out of your own nature. I've talked a lot about the Tao and the Tao recently, and so being in alignment with your own nature, that then brings in a recalibration, that then from that healing energy, from that pause that we can have, it then allows our instincts to come through and take action. But I love that we've got the healing lagoon showing up, because yes, even though I haven't noticed a big energy around triggers, it doesn't mean that we haven't gone through some difficult times. I just feel that we've come out the other side quite empowered. So the two cards that are going with these are the shadow and the sustainer. So the unspeakable, the unwelcome, the denied. Although every card in this Archetypes deck has a shadow potential, this card asks us to delve into the qualities of the shadow itself. We often think that the shadow can be purified, illuminated, and made right through effort and achievement. However, it is typically the case that our lofty pursuit of ascension and perfection is the very source of shadow material itself. By rejecting parts of ourselves and the world, we begin to separate from the whole. Rather than getting to know the qualities and content of our shadow, we busy ourselves with avoiding its presence. This is denial. When this card appears, it's time to take inventory of those things you've been denying. When the mind responds with no, anything but that, you are touching shadow. Find support for this deep inner work and move towards the shadow with patience and compassion. So this is kind of summing up what I've said with this full moon. It's bringing in an activation, having gone through a process of really being able to look at the shadow. Those of you regulars, you know I'm always going on about don't reject the shadow, don't reject the ego, don't abandon anything, don't shame anything, don't separate yourself from anything. And that really got accentuated with the honoring of the I am, of honoring of the journey of everything that's going on around you and not attaching expectations to it. And the more that you do that, the more you release those expectations and make peace with the good, the bad, and the ugly, the more things come into alignment from your soul's frequency, and you don't really have to force it or control it. And that was doubled down by this message that I got of any, like, the narratives in your head, the narratives externally, let them live their lives. Don't be in conflict, right? That martial energy, don't be in conflict. Rather than the conflict of Mars, focus on the instinct you have within you, the motivation, the drive, the manifestation energy, rather than the conflict separation energy. And it's not rejecting any of this. We live in a planet that has equal day and equal night twice a year. This represents a tool of this planet, the energy of the planet, and that of duality. You know, thinking back to Shiva and Varanasi in the Hindu tradition of honoring the destroyer, because without the destroyer you would not have new life again. And it's the same with the death card, it's the same with Pluto, of honoring the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. And we got the Sustainer card, and I was getting quite a lot from this of we have before I read what's been written, that we have been able to sustain this process of uncovering and exploring. Even if it may have been difficult, we've been able to hold that power and nurture and nourish that energy, as well as this is highlighting our capacity to sustain the shadow and stay in the shadow, stay in the pit. It's a mixture of both. And we are in this process of that death, of that release, of that energy. That we're bringing in more fluidity, which is funny for a fixed sign because they can be really stubborn. But Mars, who's influencing this moon, is in the mutable sign of Pisces. So, the sustainer, the peacemaker, the upholder, the preserver. The sustainer works behind the scenes, tending to the tasks of life. They cultivate gardens, pay bills, keep the meals warm, and the mouths sweetly fed. The sustainer is at peace in the process of life, knowing there is no start or finish to humble yet meaningful tasks. They have a natural inclination to nourish others, to archive, to preserve Earth's resources, to consider environmental impact, to see their role in the divine cycle of life. It's common for the sustainer to become overworked, leading to resentment. Their tasks aren't glamorous, and therefore the sustainer rarely receives the credit or the attention they deserve. The sustainer longs to hold things in place so badly, especially relationships, that they resist necessary change. Take time with this archetype. It is within us all and needs our love. when light, abundant, generous, supportive, reliable. When dark, overworked, resentful, trapped, tired. And interestingly, it says go deeper. Lakshmi, Vishnu, Demetra. And Vishnu is the sustainer. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu sustains, and Shiva comes along and destroys it all. Ishalimo ot 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 I ashalia la 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 iti animo oti alimo. Oshinima dianimo tu fala ishalimo tu ila di shania dana. So the process that we've been through is one, cultivating a level of nourishment and sustainability in how we then move forward after this full moon. And we've had to go through a process of figuring out, okay, what's working? What are we holding on to? Where are we being rigid? And it's funny, I was just talking about that fixed energy and how Mars is in a mutable sign, very adaptable, very in its flow, and really bringing that ability to adapt to the fixed energy of Scorpio. Now, everything is constantly in a state of transformation. And so inherently change is fixed. It is the constant. And I feel like we're shifting into acknowledging that and acknowledging the ever turning light. Oh, I don't know why I said light because I was looking at this card. Ever turning light that we are in this full shift and transmission of change and being comfortable within that. Okay, so what's next? We've got the Anima Mundi, and this is the soul of the world, all that is. And so this is what I feel, this is the journey that's leading up to us, and this is what's coming through with the full moon. Anima Mundi epitomizes the principle, accept all, reject none. Again, that's tapping into what I was saying. Let those narratives live their lives. Let them go into the worst case scenario. You don't have to attach yourself. Just let it run in the background like many different programs. It's not affecting you. Got to move away from seeing things as viruses in negative ways. I was talking in some of the readings about the word matrix. It just represents a lattice of energy that is bigger than yourself, that you're a part of. Stepping away from the fear, from the paranoia of how this energy can influence us, and realize that we are all of it. And the more that we reject things, the more they come back louder. Simply put, it is the living soul of the world in all its multifaceted, multidimensional layers, bonded together by loving cosmic forces. Diversity is celebrated, multiplicity is honored, and nothing is denied embrace. Constructs of separation dissipate into the wonderful mess of shared consciousness. This is very sort of Piscean in its vibe. Anima Mundi is a link between the literal and the imaginal, the rational and the mythic. It is the connected fiber that makes life meaningful. This card indicates an initiation on the level of the soul. You will awaken the unique light within and witness how this light contributes to the radiance of the entire universe. You will sense yourself as a critical note in the cosmic orchestra. Destiny is altered as you hear the enchanted melody of all living things. When light, tending to the sacred details of life. So again, very similar to what's come through, but a shift of being at peace with that process, being at peace with what we've just gone through, and allowing that expansion to come in. Italia dui shalemo tu fiala. Ishalimo to fialema. Ishala dina do fali diala. Ishalima do shitia do falama diana. Ishala ishalimo do idalima etufalani madoeni. Ishala dinamo to fianiala. Because Mars is in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter's in Taurus, ruled by Venus. So there is this element of the empowerment of the I am, honoring the I am of everyone. She's in Aries, influencing Jupiter and then influencing Mars, and therefore influencing this moon. So we've got this sense of Jupiter, the expansive faith, the knowing, Venus, the love energy come through. There's feeding into our motivations, our drives and actions, and allowing us to move through life with a more stable, fixed emotional core. That's perfectly happy with perhaps some negative thought patterns and is no longer shaming, oh, I've fallen off the wagon, I'm no longer in flow, am I even a good human? None of that. Inshallah. And that is coming through and being sustained. So this is from the Gateway of Light Activation deck by Carl Gray. Again, I love this deck. I love the visuals on it. And it's the Sword of Light. Divine protection, cords cut, breakthrough energy. The Sword of Light is the main energetic tool of Archangel Michael, the Prince of Heaven. His name means he who is like God, and he is considered Source's right-hand man. He is the Archangel who is chosen to guide and protect all light workers. Anyone who is feeling called to make a difference on this planet can be guided and supported by him. The Sword of Light has been pictured as both the spear of light and a lightning bolt. Either way, it's a powerful symbol of truth and spiritual power. So we've got truth twice. And Scorpio is often about revealing of secrets. Italiana. You know, if you think about Scorpio going into the darkness and coming out with the sword of truth as a sword of light. Even though it is carried by Michael, it can be invoked by all of those working in the light to help them move beyond blockages and limitations and to sever cords of fear. There's a portal here, by the way. And they just put it over the crown chakra. The moon represents our needs being met, nourishment, our intuition, our emotional body, of cords cutting around that have blocked our fear, around our nourishment, around our needs being met, like stepping out of that survival mechanism, that fear mindset, and really with this yin energy, this knowing, this rooted within us, so we are drawing towards us that which sustains us. Joan of Arc invoked it when she was going into battle. When this card comes to you, know that it is confirmation that you are walking the path of light and responding to pre-incarnation soul contracts to make a difference on this planet. It's also a sign that you have the opportunity to sever connections to fear and limitations. Energetic cords bind us to situations, loved ones, and even the past. So that's that kind of fixed, stuck, stagnant energy that we may have within us. It's making me think about, so on the night of the full moon, I've been having more and more lucid dreams since the Sun Mercury conjunction, and on the night of the full moon, my consciousness of who I am now was in the body of my teenage self, and I'd gone back in time to my first love, and it was a big love, and it broke my heart, and it was abusive, and I'm not saying that lightly. And my current consciousness was observing the actions of that partner, and it felt like I was doing a lot of healing for my teenage self. And at the same time of that was going on, there was another story going on of me, the teenage self with my consciousness, was helping a small child through a very strange and magical obstacle course. So not only was I doing work on my teenage self, but also my inner child. And even though know, I haven't thought about that relationship for a really long time. There was obviously some sort of stuck energy that I wasn't quite aware of that was getting cleared out. They're sort of tapping around the back of the sacral chakra, and often when they're doing work at the back, it's about the past, and not only in this lifetime but past lifetimes and ancestor stuff. Where was I? Yeah, energetic cords bind us to situations, loved ones, and even the past. But you are in a transition now and detaching from unnecessary connections, dramas, and fears. Know that there will be a great severing at this time, and you might feel isolated for a moment as you will be reconfiguring your circle of trust and moving into a life that is in greater alignment with your highest good. I'm going to qualify that because often I find when you do the upgrades internally, that it's not necessarily that people fall away from your life, and if they do, that's part of their soul contract and your soul contract. But often I find the relationship dynamics in your life then elevate, and they match that frequency rather than their sense of separation. And that's usually because those energies are in alignment with where you're headed and what you're doing. So it's all going to depend. It's all going to be very subjective. Know that the cords that bind you to loved ones and soul family will remain intact. It's only the it's only the lower vibrational connections that are being severed. And again, shouldn't think about that in terms of hierarchy, right? Every vibrational frequency has its place in the universe. I think I said in the collective reading, every role, every energy we're all just doing our jobs. And the more that you sort of step away from a hierarchical system of judgment and preference, the more, as I said, the world will unfold from your soul's frequency rather than these preconceptions and judgments. Those lower vibrational connections are going off and doing other work that's serving the transmutation and the expression of source. Everything's source. So, expect breakthroughs and doors of opportunities opening for you. If you feel strongly connected to the Archangel Michael, know that his energy is with you now. So what I feel overall is this a releasing of energy that has blocked your ability to step into the anima mundi, right? Of the all, not rejecting anything, the soul of the world. And transmuting energy that's blocked the true knowing of your own capacity to sustain and be and embody in this world. So this card has never shown up in any of the readings, not even on personal readings, I don't believe. And this is the halls of the Amenti initiation. Secrets revealed, treasures uncovered, initiation. How very scorpionic. The halls of Amenti are a sacred learning space from that we energetically transported by Thoth from the Atlantis to the spiritual plane before Atlantis came to an end. It is said that the portal to this etheric retreat is energetically connected to this great pyramid of Giza. Many believe that the physical remains of these halls can be found there. We don't have to physically visit Egypt to access their energies, though. The halls of Amenti are said to have been the home of the Emerald Tablet. They are a space of ancient mysteries in service to the expansion of humanity. On this card, you will see two pillars, an echo of the two pillars that have been found in sacred places throughout history. Hello, two pillars. Italia dovala discenemoire. The black pillar represents the physical world and the white represents the spiritual, indicating that this sacred space is between the worlds. If you feel called to these halls or they seem oddly familiar, there is a chance you have visited them in dream time or even before this incarnation. The message: you are in a deep initiatory chamber at this time. You might feel that things are heavy and challenging, but know that a reconfiguration is happening. Energetically, you are going through an initiation that will allow you to go beyond the fears of the ego and transcend the limitations of the physical realm. You might not feel that light is present because you are in the middle of this phase at the moment, but know that it is present within you. Actually, I've never read this card before, so that's quite wild that sort of, this does tend to happen quite a lot, which I'm just, thank you, universe. I'm in awe of you in every single way. But know that it is present within you. So I was talking about that. This energy is saying we are stepping into an energy where we can be in that darkness while holding the light, and know that that darkness and the light are fully around us at all times. Itala. You might be feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, but a lot of this anxiety is actually old energies that were stored in the depth of your body being released so that your vibration can rise. What a beautiful card. Itala. So we've got the darkness, and then we have this light, this great ball of fire. This comes from Rumi's Gift Oracle deck by Honarvar. It's an oracle deck with the Sufi mystics poems of Rumi, right? And the Sufis were very much, they referred to God and love. They refer to God and all of that as love, as the beloved, right? And that we are on this journey to be in the space of being the beloved, and we are the beloved and the external is the beloved. Oh, lovers, rejoice. My beloved has seen me. I don't know how the alchemy of love made me into this, but my tears have turned to laughter. Ishala doena. And a mirror is looking upon another mirror. The idol facing the Geleb has bent down and kissed me. I am now the Geleb. I hope I'm saying that right. This is the direction which Muslims turn to pray. So it's this point of God, of the universe, of source. He has bent down to kiss me. I am now the Geleb. Bring your prayers to me. So this is through this initiation. We know that we are source. We know we are abundant. We know we are love. We know we are the animal mundi. My secret, I followed my beloved's shadow, and I am taken to the sun. What a powerful reconnection back to the Scorpionic energy and the honoring of the duality of this planet. Italia do isiene esianimo tu fia dishana atina Hushini. And here we have the ocean showing up, which I love because Mars is in Pisces, and this is so incredibly appropriate. The unconscious, the depths, the incomprehensible. The power of the ocean is unmatched. To step into its salty waters is to step into the unknown. By its sheer volume, the ocean represents the unconscious, all that is beyond our understanding. We cannot live within the ocean. We cannot claim it, manage it, or own it. It rejects our every attempt to dominate nature. Yet amid its overwhelming power, it calls to us, inspires us, and invigorates our life on land. It dissolves the little us into the big us. When the energy of the ocean is present, there is a change stirring that is beyond any change you've known before. The ego must dissolve. The saline swells works on your every cell, your fibers, your deepest underlying beliefs. Like Aphrodite, we rise from the ocean's trough, a new being. Life is change. Let the waves crash. Now I'm called to go back to it rejects our every attempt to dominate nature. This is going back to what I think it was, I talked the most about it in the solar eclipse, Aries solar eclipse oracle reading, where I talked about the Tao and the Tao, and how I went through a process of kind of rejecting that energy, even though I knew it was the OG, and even though I knew, oh my goodness, I'm not quite ready for Eastern philosophy, because I know that's going to be, it's going to transform everything, and I wasn't quite ready. And so it's this, rather than not doing anything, right? It is about getting out of the way of your own nature, and through that release and allowing your nature to unfold, that is when you are in your power. So rather than trying to dominate your nature or control it or plan over it, it is about a surrender that is not passive. It is simply allowing yourself to unfold. And again, we're not trying to dominate, we're not trying to subjugate, we're not in a space of competition or conflict. This is allowing the ebb and flow. The ocean displays every emotion without shame. To witness its glassy moonlit surface and its unforgiving storms is to know the full spectrum of the human experience. Now that just sort of sums up again of like, don't shame your narratives. Don't shame yourself. Don't be in a state of rejection to the multifaceted nature of self. Right, what's next? Where did I put that book? Oh, here we go. The Mist. Trust your inner compass. Be led from within. Intuition is pointless unless we act on it, but it rarely makes logical sense, which is why it takes faith to trust it and courage to act on it. But when we do gather up the will to act on our intuition each and every day, we find ourselves living in a truly blessed, deeply aligned life that is led from within. I call it living a soul-led life. There is a golden thread before you, calling you towards it, beckoning you forth. So in the Leo reading, I really had this image of all the past threads. There being some blocked, stagnant energy in them, and how this is the process of release that we're going through. And I've had many visions in my life of these golden threads. So I've not read this before, so it's really interesting that that's coming through. It's more of a golden orange color that I see. That through this clearing, our intuition has cleared so much space. Our fixed intuition, the power of that, is now opening up pathways. You're being called to trust your inner compass and be led from within. Mist and fog form when it's extremely humid and water vapor condenses to form droplets that hang in the air. When the mist or fog sets in, it's as if everything is hanging in a state of mystery. When we're walking in mist, we make sure we're facing the right way, slow down, and enter a state of trust. Following our intuition is similar to that. While you may not know every step along the way or the exact destination, you're called to trust your inner compass. To trust that path will appear before you and for you. Like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, following the yellow brick road, we're all being led home to ourselves and our soul's path. It just requires us to consistently trust the guidance system within. That's brilliant. So that is linked into the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction that's being activated, and so we are facilitating that activation with this full moon. That's taking us. Trust that we are taking ourselves to a place of victory. Right, star being healing codes. Important information, wounds are healed, recharging. There are many names for star beings, such as ET, star people, star ancestors, and more. Whatever they are called, they are divinely inspired, evolved beings existing in dimensions that we can't even comprehend. They are the overseers of the cosmos, and like angels, are divine expressions of the heart of Source, who are dedicated to the well-being of the entire universe. They aren't limited by time or space, for they are from a higher dimension. Their frequency healings are received on a spiritual level and can then move through our energy centers to affect the physical. These cosmic beings are our interplanetary cousins and are now coming to many souls on Earth in support of healing, expansion, and harmony. Star beings exist in multiple forms, and come from many different universes. But this card is a gateway that transports us to one of their healing sanctuaries. Itali molto fali Diana. It is a gateway that is open to many different star beings, and so it doesn't stipulate which cosmic race is coming to us, but we will be receiving healing codes directly from the cosmic guides. The healing can be emotional, physical, or spiritual. However it comes, know that it's a great blessing. If the world seems overwhelming or intense at this time, know that it's okay for you to retreat to a safe space to cleanse and recharge your energy. You may feel called to be a healer for others and share healing with the world, but please ensure that you are balanced and filled up with light first. This is not the time for you to sacrifice your own well-being in order to serve others. Light beings are placing their hands upon you now. Ishala doini, atufini, atshana. Light beings with divine light that will wash away any blockages or stagnant energy. Shut the front door on the way out. Standing in the way of your healing codes and frequencies into your being. And it's important for you to stay alert for any intuitive guidance about your body so that you can be restored to health once more. Interesting about the body, you know, Taurus is very much about our personal connection to the physical world, our physical senses. Ela doi shalamoti ala. It doi shalimodoi tema. Adoi shalimadale modoi shalimodoile shademele shalamodoile majinama. Oto it anama oto fiala. Ishalimo oshele. Ishalimo oshela. Ishala osha ala. Etoela. Etoela, etenia, ishalemo utufala, ishalemo uela, diala, do shatenamo utufa, eshinemo la di shala, eshinemo shiniela. Nama ushena, ushinima utufa ela, ishini utuila ma itinya. Dufia limo oya ishini atena mo oyela indine mo o shiana tiane mo ishele idiala mo oshi dishene mo tofala. So we're bringing these healing codes down to help change our perspective around who we are on this planet and what this planet's all about. Ishitiane moyala moyala. Emoya la dia la di shenimo o shiala ditanemo to fiela dianamo doing Ishana moyana, making waves. Momentum is building. It's your time. Achievement. The waves are rolling in and they're waiting for you to catch a ride. The winds are at your back now. This, I feel, is like what we're headed for. Ishala, what's unfolding. The winds are at your back now and gently guiding you towards your destiny. They're whispering for you to really enjoy the ride. Ishala diala. There are clear skies ahead and the waves keep rolling in. It's impossible for you to miss your moment or to not answer your calling. The only risk is that you don't make the most of and enjoy the ride. This is an extremely positive, encouraging card. Your commitment is paying off and your prayers are being answered. You are being supported by forces both known and unknown to you. This is most definitely your time. Things have been building for some time and momentum is all around you. This is tapping into the Beltane energy of fertile energy showing up here. Whether you're working on a creative project, have an impact on your professional life, or creating something in your personal life, this card is confirmation that great success will follow. So put in place whatever you need to make the most of this unique opportunity. Now is the time to ask for what you want and to let yourself be truly seen. I feel like this is taking us to the Taurus new moon. Inshallah doini. Do whatever you need to do to truly ride the waves of your destiny. All you've been working for is here. Ashallah. Affirmation: I open my arms wide to receive the bounty of what I've created and say yes to enjoying life fully. Such a beautiful shift of honoring the duality of through this energy. We come out the other side and there's more activations, there's more manifestation from that yin energy. Italia doi shalamo tu fala. Solar light upgrade. Solar plexus chakra, inner fire, willpower. Very appropriate for a Mars ruled sign of activating our motivation, our drive, our actions. Itanima. The solar plexus chakra is found just above the belly button in the pit of the stomach. It's an energetic gateway that governs our gut, our instincts, and on an energetic level, our willpower and drive. This space can be described as a glowing sun. It is the space of warmth that gives us the necessary focus and energy to fulfill our purpose and realize our dreams. When the solar light gateway opens, our solar plexus becomes an infinite well of light. And obviously the sexual organs are the sacral chakra, and when they are healed, that means that we go out in the world from our pure power, creation power energy, rather than those distortions. This is the source of daily inspiration and ancient wisdom. When we feel our willpower increasing, we are remembering that we have prepared for many incarnations for the opportunities we have today. The light of the great central sun is shining on you, activating you to push onwards and create. This is the perfect time to move forward with projects, goals, and intentions. Align your energy with whatever you are ready to create and experience. Focus on what you are ready to grow and where you are ready to expand. As you focus on your goals, you are giving them energetic encouragement to flourish and open like the warm summer sun kissing the ground, encouraging the flowers to grow and bloom. The sunlight has arrived. It's here in you now. Here in the UK, it's still pretty damn cold, but there is a full sense. I've got these flowers that grow in my garden, these wildflowers, and there is a sense of spring is here, life is here, that we are budding and growing and expanding. Ishalimotiana, agape, devotion, unconditional love. What if instead of putting yourself at the center of your spiritual practice, you put God, goddess, or nature at the center? How would this change your approach? Such is the energy of agape. It is alive when we are in awe and wonder, our breath taken away by the sacred force that surrounds us and asks for nothing in return. This card can initiate a spiritual initiation that stretches your capacity to love and serve. You sense the earthly as the heavenly and vice versa. Such an initiatory moment can appear in any form, and like a healing balm to the modern soul, its effects last a lifetime. The agape card may also suggest you reassess what you worship every day, consciously or unconsciously. What are you elevating? Where does the sacred ladder you climb ultimately lead to? So there's a sense of being in awe, of putting source at the center of everything. But I have a resistance to taking yourself out of it. It's about elevating your sense of self, that is source, and putting it at the center of knowing you are source and your nature is source, and therefore being in awe of your own nature and how you move through the world. And again, it's that sort of devotion to existence, all those narratives, all those experiences. Final card. Goodness me, quite a long oracle reading this one. There was a lot of cards that wanted to come through. And so, final card is Alethea. Truth. Our soul recognizes the truth. When someone speaks it, a cool wave of relief washes over the room, and all the facts and figures in the world fall by the wayside. Such is the power of Alethea. It has an undeniable resonance that goes beyond the rational. We can also recognize Alethea by its contagiousness. When we hear someone speak the truth, we see the truth within ourselves and are more likely to tell our own story. The Alethea card requires us to step towards an act of truth. This might look like a conversation, a gesture, a poetic act, or a ritual that honors the unveiling of what's being concealed. Reclaiming your own truth is a way to reclaim your vital energy, health, and sense of belonging in the world. Truth has its own wings, set it free. When light, clarity, revelation, disclosure, it is said that the resonance of our voice changes when we speak in falsity. In this light, practice seeing truth as a vibration. They're doing work around the throat track. You know, that Scorpio energy is quite blunt. And so there's this recalibration of our ability to honor our truth, and we can swap that word for authenticity, where that we have more confidence, where we're not repeating old cycles of reinforcing trauma when we speak our truth, when we honor our own authenticity. And it's the truth that we are source. Right. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I certainly did. That was, just that healing energy that came through, and the empowerment just feels very, very affirming of the energy of this full moon. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, it would be an honor and a privilege if you hit that like button. If you wish a personal reading, perhaps about this moon or some other transit or whatever it is you like, check out my the website in the description box, as well as on the community page. But other than that, be good to yourselves, be good to those around you, and most importantly, be well until we meet again.